It is official with the Los Angeles Dodgers comeback win to come back from down 3-1 to win the series 4-3 against the Atlanta Braves. It'll be the two teams who finished with the best records in their leagues, the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays, facing off against each other tomorrow in Game 1 of the World Series. Of course, the best-of-7 series. The first team to win 4 games will, of course, claim the 2020 Quarantine World Series championship. And I think this is going to be a very formidable matchup, even though a lot of people are going to write the Rays off. But both teams have been very incredible this season. Of course, starting off with the Tampa Bay Rays, looking at how they got there because they were the first team to get there. They finished 40-20 on the season. Incredible performances from their starting pitchers, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell. But of course, it'll be their batting lineup throughout the season, as they showed that they were one of the league's best. I mean, they have Manuel Margot at right field, Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena batting cleanup, who's been having who had probably a better playoffs in the season, but the end of the season was incredible, and I think this was his rookie season too. Austin Meadows, a designated hitter. He-Man Choi, who's been playing incredibly well. Willie Adames at shortstop, who's been playing great defense, and who's been running the bases and hitting really well. Joey Wendell's playing third base, Mike Zunino at catcher, and Kevin Kiermaier in center field. They've been playing together like an incredible unit, and let's not overlook the fact that they did play in the American League East, where they had 2 teams that qualify for the playoffs. The Yankees finished with the 5th seed with the second best record, and the Toronto Blue Jays finished with the 8th best record. So that's kind of how those series went. But the Tampa Bay Rays did actually have to end up beating both of them before they beat the Houston Astros, who were an amazing team in the playoffs in general. They were just missing Verlander, their ace pitcher, but with this win, the Tampa Bay Rays will advance. But first, taking you series by series, after finishing with 40 wins on the season, they would take on the 8th seed Toronto Blue Jays and kind of dispose of them incredibly easy. First game they won 3-1. Of course, this would be with Blake Snell's win, and then the second win would end up being Tyler Glasnow's win to kind of dominate the Blue Jays, advance to the next round. And the divisional series, where everyone was playing their divisional opponent because none of the Central teams made it, and coincidentally the West teams played the East, the Rays were able to get the best of the Yankees in 5 games, which is kind of surprising considering the Yankees are a very formidable playoff team. The Rays disposed them pretty easily, losing their only game in Game 5. They beat the Yankees 9-3 in the first game. That would be a big win from Blake Snell, of course, as they had Randy Arozarena playing an amazing game. Game 2 would end up being a big win from Tyler Glasnow. And then I think the rest of their games ended up after Game 3 with Charlie Morton, a lot of their games kind of were bullpen outings to kind of get them to the next round, which they did advance, like I said, in 5 games. They kind of beat the Yankees pretty easily, and the Yankees were looking like the strongest team when healthy. And then in the American League Championship Series, they would go up 3-1 against the Houston Astros. The Astros would they would go up 3-0, I think, because they won the first 3 games. The Astros would win the next 3 games, and then the Tampa Bay Rays would not choke the series away. As in the very last game, it would come down to Charlie Morton pitching almost 6 innings to win the game for the Tampa Bay Rays. And after beating the Astros in 7, they will advance to the World Series, of course, headlined by amazing pitching. And of course, their batting lineup is incredibly hot. I wouldn't be if they won the World Series from the beginning. They were a team that I would believe was a complete World Series contender, and if everything goes right, I can most definitely see the Tampa Bay Rays winning, if not comfortably winning in a very close series. And then taking you out to the National League team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who just clinched yesterday. The Los Angeles Dodgers finished the season with the best record in the major leagues. And of course, with a lot of players opting out, we understand that the Dodgers still could have been a stronger side, but they still made the World Series, which is still incredibly impressive. Headlined by amazing starting pitching with Dustin May, who's been an amazing young rookie starter, Walker Buehler, who's in his 3rd season, who has no signs of slowing down, who even has his own elite profile. Their go-to starting pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, along with an amazing bullpen that dealt with and kind of figured out the Braves, who are the best offense in all of baseball this season. Amazing starting pitching, and then looking at how they line up, and of course moving players around all the time. They lead off with Mookie Betts, their elite right fielder, who's had an amazing year this year. Their shortstop Corey Seager, who's really emerged in the playoffs to become his own Dodger great. Their third baseman, Justin Turner, Max Muncy at first. Will Smith looks as though he's going to secure the catcher spot with his amazing play recently. Reigning National League MVP Cody Bellinger, after hitting the go-ahead home run last night, he's feeling pretty well. And of course, he and Mookie Betts have been putting together some amazing defensive performances. Their left fielder AJ Pollock has been hitting incredibly well. I don't know if he's had a hit streak, but he's hitting a lot of their games this year. Jock Peterson has been playing incredibly well, along with Kike Hernandez, who's been hitting pinch hit home runs. And then Chris Taylor also added in with a bunch of other players that the Dodgers kind of just cycling around. But that's the team that we're looking at. Even though the Rays finished this season with the best record in the American League with a 40-20 record, the Dodgers finished with a 43-17 record, and the NL West, the second best record in the National League West was the Padres, and they played in the same division. But that should show. Even though the AL West and the NL West were particularly weak this year, the Dodgers weren't a weak team. They weren't a weak side, and they showed it and they proved it that they beat every formidable team they beat the Padres and the Braves, the two teams that were thought to be the threats to them in the season. But like I said, following the regular season, where the Dodgers ended up being the best statistically, they were the best pitching team, and they were still arguably I think they were the second best offensive team behind the Atlanta Braves this season. So it's like that team is going to be a very hard team to beat. Starting with the wild card and the first series, they faced off against the Milwaukee Brewers. They were able to sweep them. The first game would end up going to, or Walker Buehler would get the start, but Urias would pick up the win. And then in the second game, the win would go to Clayton Kershaw as he struck out 13 batters through 8 innings to kind of dominate them. And then the division series would be a pretty big one for the Dodgers. They beat the San Diego Padres, swept them in 3 games. And of course, people were talking about how great and formidable the Padres were, but I would say I wouldn't sleep on the San Diego Padres next year. But in the first game, Walker Buehler would get the start, and then Dustin May would get the win in game 1 against the Padres. In game 2, the Padres would make it close. The Dodgers would beat them 6-5 as Clayton Kershaw struck out 6 in 6 innings. And then in game 3, the win would go to, or Dustin May would get the start, but Julio Urias in relief would get the win, as he's been amazing for the Dodgers in the playoffs. And then jump into the NLCS against the Atlanta Braves. The Braves would go up 3-1, but then the Los Angeles Dodgers would win the last 3 games to secure the series for themselves. Dustin May would get the start, and Urias would get yet another win for the Dodgers, as they will advance to play against the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series. And like I said, this is a good series to look forward to. The pitching, I would say, is pretty even when you talk about starting pitching and bullpen. And even so, I would say the Dodgers have 2 really formidable starting pitchers in Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler. And they have a lot of good bullpen pitching, whereas the Rays have they have Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, and they have Tyler Glasnow, which is, I give the Rays the edge in pitching, and their hitting has been hot, but I'd still give the Dodgers the offensive edge. So I think this is going to be a very even series. The series could end up in a sweep. It very well could end up in 7. I have no idea how this series is going to end out. If I were to call it, I think this would finally be the year that the Dodgers won, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if the Rays were able to pull one off. But with that said, I appreciate you for listening to all this piece. It is Monday, October 19th, 2020, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and with 2 teams left, only one team could end up winning the World Series. And I can't wait to see it. But with that said, I hope all is well, and I wish everyone the best. I want to thank you once again for listening to this 9-minute piece, and peace out.